It is the last 5 minutes of the biggest match of the year. Your team is losing, the crowd is screaming, and somehow, without anyone saying a word, 11 players and 100,000 fans all turn their hope toward the exact same person. You do this too, every time. You don't pick the team's best defender to save the day. You don't pick the goalkeeper who has made 12 saves already. You pick one name, one face, one man who you've convinced yourself can bend the entire game by himself. But the real reason you do this has almost nothing to do with football. It's about how your brain decides who gets the credit and who gets the blame for things that are almost always the result of 11 people, 3 substitutes, a coaching staff, and a small amount of luck. Here's where it starts. Your brain hates complexity. Complexity is expensive. It takes time, energy, and attention to track 22 players, hundreds of decisions, and a constantly shifting field. So your brain does what it always does when a system gets too complicated to follow in real time. It simplifies. It picks a single cause, a single hero, a single villain. Psychologists call this the fundamental attribution error, a term coined by the social psychologist Lee Ross in the 1970s. Ross found that people consistently overestimate the role of a single individual's character or ability and underestimate the role of context, situation, and the contributions of everyone else around them. When a team wins, you don't picture 11 separate decisions stacking together. You picture one moment, one run, one finish, one man. This is why, after the match, you remember the goal. You don't remember the third pass before it, the player who tracked back 40 meters to win the ball, or the manager who made the substitution 4 minutes earlier that changed the shape of the game. Your brain trims the story down to its simplest, most satisfying version, and that version almost always has a single main character. There's a second force working alongside this one, and it's even older than football. It's called the halo effect, first documented by the psychologist Edward Thorndike back in 1920. Thorndike was studying military officers, asking commanders to rate soldiers on completely unrelated traits, like intelligence, leadership, and physical strength. What he found was strange. If a soldier was rated highly on one trait, he was automatically rated highly on almost everything else, even traits that had nothing to do with the first one. Your brain does the exact same thing with a great striker. If a player is brilliant at scoring goals, you begin to assume he's also a brilliant leader, a clutch performer, a man who simply does not miss in big moments. None of those things are guaranteed by goal-scoring ability alone. But once the halo forms, it's almost impossible to see the player any other way. Now here's where it gets stranger, and where the real story isn't really about football at all. It's about survival. For most of human history, you did not survive alone. You survived in small groups, hunting, defending territory, sharing food, and in those groups, a single skilled individual really could change the outcome for everyone. A hunter who could track better, a fighter who was faster, a leader who made better decisions under pressure. The anthropologist Joseph Henrich has spent decades studying what he calls prestige-based hierarchies in early human societies, communities that didn't just follow the strongest person, but the most skilled one, the one whose abilities visibly produced better results for the whole group. This wiring never left you. You still scan every group you belong to for the one individual whose skill might tip the balance for everyone. In a tribe of 40 people on the savannah, this instinct kept you alive. In a stadium of 80,000 people watching a football match, that same instinct just finds a different target. It locks onto the number 9, the number 7, the man whose name the whole crowd is chanting. This is also why losing feels so personal when your chosen hero fails. If your brain has built an entire narrative where one player single-handedly determines the outcome, then a missed chance in the final minute doesn't feel like one moment in a 90-minute game involving 22 people. It feels like a betrayal, a failure of the one person you trusted to carry everyone else. Researchers studying sports psychology have a term for this kind of pressure: the talisman effect, the tendency for fans, teammates, and even coaches to treat one player as a kind of good luck charm whose mere presence is believed to change outcomes. Studies on collective efficacy, building on the psychologist Albert Bandura's decades of work on self-belief, have shown something fascinating. A team's belief that they can succeed is often more predictive of performance than their actual measured skill level. And that collective belief is frequently anchored to one person. If he's playing, we can win. If he's injured, we're in trouble. The belief itself becomes part of the team's actual performance. So when you watch a match and feel that surge of certainty, the conviction that as long as he's on the pitch, anything is possible, you are not being naive. You are participating in something that has been part of human group psychology for tens of thousands of years. You are doing what your ancestors did when they looked toward the best hunter in the group before a dangerous chase, trusting that one set of skilled hands could tip the odds in everyone's favor. But here's the twist, and it's the part most fans never stop to consider. The very thing that makes a single player feel like a guaranteed answer is also what makes failure feel so much worse than it should. The management researcher James Meindl described something he called the romance of leadership, our tendency to attribute outcomes, both successes and failures, disproportionately to a single leader, even when the data shows the outcome was caused by dozens of contributing factors. Meindl found this pattern everywhere: in business, in politics, in sports. We crave a simple story with one hero. We just don't notice that the same story also needs one person to blame when things go wrong. This means the player you trust the most to save the team is also, structurally, the player you are most likely to unfairly blame. Not because he failed more than anyone else on the pitch, but because your brain already wrote him into the role of the one who decides everything long before the match even started. Think about how this plays out off the pitch too. At work, you probably do this with a single colleague who you assume can fix any crisis. In your family, there might be one person everyone turns to when something goes wrong, even if 3 other people are just as capable. None of this is really about football, or even about specific individuals. It's about a brain that was built for small tribes, trying to make sense of massive, complicated systems and doing the only thing it knows how to do: finding the one person who feels like the whole story. So tonight, when the ball lands at his feet in the final minute and the entire stadium holds its breath as if one man is about to single-handedly decide the fate of everyone watching, remember what's actually happening. It's not really about one player's foot or one player's nerve. It's about 100,000 brains, shaped by tens of thousands of years of group survival, doing the very same thing they would have done around a fire long before football existed, searching the crowd for one set of hands they can trust the outcome to. The match was never decided by one man. It just always felt that way, and it always will.